I'm here with Rachel today, who is an alum of Concordia. I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell us about her degrees and the position she is currently employed at.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Rachel. I graduated with my undergrad and my master's in sport management from CSP. I was in the 3+2 program, so I highly recommend that. Um, I'm currently, for the next week and a half, the sports and ice rinks coordinator in Bloomington. I just accepted a full-time position with the city of Edina, as the facility coordinator for Braemar Arena and Fields. So I'll start that November 28th. But yeah, so in Bloomington, I oversee all the sports and athletic leagues there. And then in my new position, I'll be managing the Braemar Arena and Fields.
Well, congratulations. This is
Thank
like perfect timing for evidence for students to see that when they get their foot in the door, they can move around, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I highly agree.
Good. Well, tell us more about the 3+2, because I feel like it's kind of a little hidden secret that not everybody knows about, but it's definitely beneficial, not only for saving you money, but also being able to accelerate your degree and then really focus on things that are of interest to you within the degree.
Yeah, so honestly, I have so many coworkers and friends who say that they're jealous of me that I had that opportunity to do the 3+2. And not only does it make you a top candidate for jobs and things like that, but I think it just helped me further my experience and just it just like it made me more determined to get it done. And instead of taking a break and maybe debating on going back for my master's, I think just doing it all at once is very helpful and just I think the best way to do it, at least for me, and because I didn't want to become lazy and just like not go back and do it and finish it and things like that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So for any students, especially our traditional campus students who are already committed to thinking about a sport management degree, and if you're in your first or second year, you are able to roll right into taking some master's classes, and you actually will complete both degrees in a span of 5 years instead of the typical 6. So if that is something that
Yeah.
interests you, we encourage them to talk to their academic advisor and some of the faculty members to see if it is a good fit for them, for sure. And it sounds like it
Yes.
was for you. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. So, when you graduated, did you know that you wanted to be involved in community ed and recreation, or how did your path get you this far so far?
Yeah, so when I first started school at CSP, I didn't really know much about Park and Rec, and we in the in the intro to sports management class, we have different people from their careers come in and talk about their jobs with different organizations, and we didn't have anyone when I was in that class come in and talk about Park and Rec. But Dr. Huberty was a Park and Rec professional one day, or back in her day, and so she kind of touched on Park and Rec a little bit, and I just kind of expressed interest to her, and she had talked about once a time or two about some job openings, and I was like, "Well, seems like a nice job, and you can make that much. Okay, I guess I'm a little interested." And so she got me connected in Park and Rec. She helped me get an internship with Bloomington in 2019. And ever since that, I stayed in Park and Rec and stayed at Bloomington. And then now I'm going to Edina.
And I think that students don't necessarily think about government jobs, right? You think sports management and they think, I want to work for the Minnesota Twins or I want to be a sports agent or whatever the case might be. But there are a plethora of jobs in city, countywide, municipalities that you're really getting to work with the community. It's well paid, and you get to see a variety of constituents. So I'm sure that that's intriguing to you as well. So I'm sure there's not a typical day, and this is probably a loaded question, but what does a typical day look like for you? How are you filling your hours?
Yeah, so no 2 days are the same, that's for sure. And um, I know that is kind of cliche, but it is true. And my one thing my supervisor and I always say is even though we're in summer or in a certain season, we're still planning for the next. We're still planning 6 months ahead. And so that's kind of one thing that I always have in the back of my head is like right now we're in winter, or well, starting in winter, but end of fall. But we're already starting to plan for spring, or soon we will be. And finishing things up and tidying those things and getting ready for that. And so with that though, I manage all of the sports leagues in Bloomington, and so getting that ready and just minor program management stuff on the side. And so yes, I'm managing the programs that are currently happening, but I also am planning ahead as well.
Yeah. And in a position like yours, Rachel, what would you say is the amount of autonomy you have compared to maybe doing some things that have happened every year or getting community input or getting buy-in from city council? What kind of decision-making process are you involved in?
Yeah, so in the government in this world, you definitely have the autonomy to create new programs, and like going back to the professional setting and working for the Twins or whatever it is, I feel like to me, not saying that every day is the same, but it's kind of you're kind of doing the same things and planning for the same things for games and game day stuff and whatever it is. But I have the opportunity to change things up and offer new programs or offer uh, an, another program that maybe we've never offered before or something like that. And so just kind of having the freedom to do that is something really cool in this position and in this field.
Yes, yes. And how did you know you were ready to move to a new position? So you just let us know that you'll be stepping away and moving to a different city, different set of rules and expectations, and a different population. How did you personally know that you were ready for the next step?
Yeah, so my supervisor and I have a great relationship. We have a great friendship and a great professional relationship. And after I graduated with my master's and kind of just a little bit like a couple months before I graduated, he's like, "All right, it's your time. I don't want to lose you, but it's your time to get a full-time job with benefits, and I know you're ready for it, and I'm gonna help you as much as I can to prepare you for interviews and things like that." And so although these last 6 months kind of felt really long, going through so many interviews and being rejected, and at times thinking, well, maybe I'm not ready. Um, when I finally got my Edina interview, I was like, all right, this feels good. I'm feeling really good about this one. It just clicks and it feels right. And so I don't know, just trusting myself that I was ready and I was just having that confidence in myself was something I think I was looking for, but I didn't have at the time, maybe 6 months ago. And now just having that has made me feel more ready and prepared.
That's great insight and great introspection. And I think students can be, especially when they're recent graduates, maybe just wanting the first job that comes along, right? Because you want some stability, you want to get your foot in the door. But there's also a balancing act of realizing, where do my skills and passions fit in with the community? It definitely needs to be a two-way street. Like, you want to have a job where you feel honored to be there and you feel like you're really making a difference in the community. So that's an important thing,
Yeah.
even if that's maybe not first thing in the mind for young graduates. It is something to consider for sure when you get ready for those professional steps.
Yeah, and I really want to emphasize that maybe that the first job you apply to after maybe you graduate or whatever it is, just not to be so focused on that maybe that like that's your job, like it just to focus on that it might take some time and just to not get down on yourself because I applied probably for to at least 10, 15 jobs and I got rejected 14 of those times. And so just to emphasize that be a little selective too, because there were a couple of jobs that I applied to just because I wanted to have a full-time job and I wanted to get my foot in the door. But in the long run, those jobs probably weren't the right positions for me. So just to be patient and the right one will come along is something that I really want to emphasize.
I think that's very helpful, especially if somebody's watching this in the spring of their senior year and maybe panicking a little bit about what comes next. And you're not
Yeah.
even rejected from jobs, right? Just somebody else was chosen instead. So
Right. Exactly.
now, we don't need to beat around the bush with this or try to make it seem rosy colored, but in community ed and Parks and Rec, there's not just a 9 to 5, right? I mean, you are weekends, you are early mornings, you're getting phone calls from your coworkers. Like, you really have to love what you do, because it's not just, the job doesn't end when you shut the door to your office.
Yeah. Yeah. And in my all the interviews I was in, they definitely touched base on that a lot. Like, so do you know that once the office day, like the office hours are over, are you fine with knowing that you might get a phone call at 9 p.m. at night? I was like, oh yeah, I go through that right now in Bloomington. I know that our programs run in the evening, and my although my office hours are 8 to 4:30, my day doesn't end at 4:30. I know I can get phone calls or whatever it is after that.
Hmm. Now, I do not know if you were a athlete at Concordia or not. We have a lot of athletes that become sport management or exercise science majors. Do you think having a background in sports and athletics is crucial, or if you just have a passion for recreation in general and loving helping people out, that doesn't need to be a disqualification if you're not an athlete yourself?
No, I don't think you need to be an athlete. I think if the passion is there, that's a lot of what um, is needed for something for a position like this or any position in a recreation field. And a lot of times when I was asked in my interviews, like, why are you interested or what makes you the top candidate and things like that, I was my answer is always knowing what I do is directly impacting the community and providing recreational or an athletic opportunity for someone is something that I that gives me just kind of that uh, motivation, I guess you could say, just because I was always in sports growing up or in recreation programs. And so that's just kind of my way of giving back. And although I wasn't an athlete at CSB, I was an athlete growing up. So I don't think it's needed, but if the passion is there, that's definitely what is needed.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
What is something that you, either positive or negative, maybe learned the hard way? So you come out of school, you're excited, you got your textbooks, you know the theories, you know the plans, you feel a little confident or maybe not confident with budgets, and then all of a sudden you hit the ground running and whoo, it's not like school anymore.
Yeah. So I guess one thing that came to mind right away is yes, your degree is important, and I definitely want everyone to know that go like graduate. It's definitely important, but a lot of the times it's who you know that will help you get jobs and opportunities in the future. And with Edina, it so happened to be that my director in Bloomington and deputy director used to work in Edina and hired um, my new manager that I will have in Edina. And so just having those connections is really important. And I think it's important to value relationships in any setting, whether that's just your coworkers or like in working for the government and working for a city. It's important to know people in other cities as well, so you can grow those connections with them and bounce ideas off of them. And you're kind of in it together. It's not like, oh, I'm in Bloomington and Edina is right next to us. We're competing. It's yes, there might be a little bit of competition because you want to have the better programs, but you're also kind of in it together and working together in a way.
And that's a great point because you do rub elbows with city council members, community members, other parks and rec people, other city employees. So not just siloing yourself off is really going to help you grow professionally and learn as well, right? So
Yeah.
what have been some opportunities for you for professional growth? Do you feel like your employers give you opportunities? Do you subscribe to any journals? You know, are there conferences that you can attend? What does that look like for you staying relevant in the industry?
Yeah, so I'm just going to speak to Bloomington right now since I'm more familiar with them and have yet to start with Edina. But
Hmm.
Bloomington has really emphasized that they care about me and care about my growth as a professional and personally as well. And so my manager has often emphasized that, hey, if there are any conferences you want to go to, please let me know and we can try to work it out or whatever it is like that. And I also have kind of learned just to stepping away from that, just learn to not be so hard on myself. And I'm very much so a people pleaser. And so, although yes, I always care if I'm pleasing everyone, it is also important to know that um, you are not always going to please everyone. And so, just sticking up for yourself and being a female in this field, I kind of want to speak to that a little bit. It can be kind of gruesome just because some people might look down on you, and women in sports, we already know how that's kind of viewed in today's world, although yes, it is getting better. But I just want to be a voice of reason for females, like you got it. you know what you're doing, stick up for yourself, show them who you are, and yeah, you'll be great.
Those are some great words of wisdom. And again, something I think it's important for younger people to hear as they're just getting into the industry and maybe feeling overwhelmed to begin with, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's pretend that you get to hire somebody. Maybe you're the deputy director now, and you've got three candidates sitting here for the job. They all have sport management degrees. So on paper, they all look the same. What is going to be some characteristics that you're going to look for somebody to embody that's really going to propel them ahead?
Yeah, I think being a bubbly person, an outgoing person is very important. Working for the public is kind of intimidating sometimes just because people can be like, I live here, I'm a resident here, I'm your boss, and not kind of taking that to don't take that personally as much. And I think just being a bubbly person and being optimistic and just positive and having that kind of personality is something that I would look for. I've kind of learned how to be like that, I feel like, and this position has really taught me that. And so, yeah, I really think that helps a lot.
No, that's a great suggestion. And I want to let you toot your own horn a little bit. Has there been a program or idea that you've implemented, maybe that you didn't know how it would turn out and it turned out really well, or something that you've seen, start from scratch and go all the way through to fruition and you've really gotten to put your signature on it?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, we had to get a little unique because we couldn't really do a lot of our programs that we were able to do before. And so, although they maybe didn't directly fall under my sports programs, some of them did, but like I created a pop-up soccer event where people just kids would just come and hang out and play some soccer, learn how to play soccer. And then I created a virtual snow sculpture event where kids would, well, we had different age groups, but everyone would submit pictures of their snow sculpture that they created, and we had a contest on that, and you got to win a prize. And um, another one I created was a sled stravaganza, and so just having fun sledding. And so those were some three programs that I was pretty proud of, that I was able to do those and be a part of those, especially during a time when things were interesting and people couldn't do a lot of the things that they were used to doing before.
Yes, a simple way to connect. And for those people who are maybe watching us that aren't in Minnesota, it is a big deal to make snow sculptures and
Yes,
sleds, and we'll capitalize on any environmental cues that we can take, right?
yes, for sure.
Well, Rachel, I'd like to let you finish with any other thoughts that you have for either students considering a sport management degree, or maybe again, they're in the spring of their senior year and they're not knowing what comes next. Put yourself back in their shoes, and what would you have told your past self?
Yeah, like I know I touched on it a little bit before, but just don't be so hard on yourself. I know you might have in the back of your head, I just graduated. I should be able to get a job now. I deserve to have a job. And I kind of had that mindset going forward or back 6 months ago. And I think that um, wasn't very helpful for me during my time of applying and interviewing for jobs. And I think coming to the realization that I can't have that mindset. Yes, I do want a job and I think I do deserve it, but just wait. The right one will come along. And actually, I reached out to my supervisor if he had any kind of like feedback or just any tidbits, and I kind of wanted to read it. It kind of goes with one of the questions, what you weren't told and now that, or and what you know now. And I just want to read it. He texted me it. He said, I was never told that you should stick to your values, thoughts, ideas, and morals in the workplace, no matter what the repercussions are. It is easiest just to nod and agree and to try to just keep swimming and to keep getting a paycheck. But at the end of the day, you lose a part of yourself if you aren't true to yourself and your morals, feelings, ethics, and etc. So the right thing to do is often the hardest thing to do. And I think that's really great advice. And my supervisor is awesome. So make sure when you're also interviewing for jobs that you're selective because you want to have a great supervisor and managers. So, and you're also interviewing them when they're interviewing you. So that's important too as well.
Yes, it is definitely a two-way street, and you have to feel like you're going to fit into the culture and the vision of that place just as much as they want you. You need to want to be there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks so much, Rachel. This has been very helpful, and we look forward to chatting again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.